Every single month, you hand the gas or electric company money to heat water that starts cold again the second you stop paying. That's not a utility bill. That's a subscription to something that's been free for billions of years. And somewhere along the line, between the 1940s and right now, a dead simple method for collecting that free heat got quietly buried under appliance warranties and installation fees. I want to be precise about what we're talking about here, because the word trick undersells it. This isn't a hack, it's thermodynamics. It's the same physical law that makes your car seat unbearable in July. And the only tool you need to put it to work is something most people already have coiled up behind their garage. A black garden hose coiled in the sun reaches temperatures between 120 and 145 degrees Fahrenheit in under 2 hours. No electricity, no gas, no monthly bill attached to it. That's not a rough estimate. That's a measurable, repeatable physical outcome. And the materials cost? If you already own the hose, the cost is literally zero. If you need to buy one, we're talking $1 at a garage sale, maybe $6 at a hardware store. What you do with that hot water, how much you collect, and how you feed it into your existing setup, that's what the rest of this is about. The water heater industry in the United States moves somewhere in the range of $10 to $12 billion annually. That number depends almost entirely on a single assumption, that you need a tank full of water, heated continuously, burning energy, whether you use it or not. The standby heat loss on a standard tank water heater is substantial. You pay to heat water at 2 in the morning. You pay to keep it hot while you're at work. You pay the same whether you use 40 gallons or 4. Before centralized utilities pushed into rural America in the 1940s and 50s, farmhouses across the South and Southwest were already running solar-heated water systems made from nothing more than coiled black pipe and gravity. It wasn't sophisticated. It wasn't patented. It was just physics, applied by people who had to be resourceful because nobody was running a gas line to their property in 1938. These systems had a name, thermosiphon solar collectors. You won't hear that phrase thrown around at Home Depot. It's not that the concept was disproven. It's that it doesn't require anything sold at Home Depot. There's no margin in it, no installation fee, no extended warranty, no annual service contract. And that's precisely why it faded out of mainstream knowledge. The moment appliance manufacturers figured out that a tank heater with a 10-year lifespan was a far better business model than a hose that outlasts the house. There's no villain in a trench coat here. Just industry incentives doing what industry incentives always do. But the knowledge didn't disappear. It just stopped being passed down. The USDA's agricultural research offices published extension guides on passive solar water heating throughout the 1950s and 1960s, aimed specifically at rural homesteaders who were either off-grid or trying to reduce dependency on utility connections. Those guides describe systems almost identical to what we're building here: coiled black pipe, gravity-fed flow, southern exposure, thermal storage. The physics hasn't changed since those documents were printed. Not a single law of thermodynamics has been revised. In hotter climates, parts of Arizona, New Mexico, and the Texas Hill Country, ranch families were running outdoor showers off sun-heated pipe systems well into the 1960s. Not as a novelty, as the primary hot water source. And it worked consistently, reliably. Every sunny day, which in those regions is most of them, what happened to that knowledge isn't mysterious. It got replaced, not because it stopped working, but because a replacement was available for purchase. That's the whole story. Black absorbs light across the full spectrum and converts it directly into heat. That's not opinion, that's thermodynamics. And a standard garden hose is essentially a perfect solar collector by accident. The dark polyethylene or rubber material absorbs solar radiation. The water inside conducts that heat away from the wall of the hose and carries it. And since water has a high specific heat capacity, it holds that energy for a meaningful amount of time after the sun stops hitting it directly. Here's the part that surprises most people. The coiling matters more than the length, up to a point. A 50-foot hose coiled tightly in a 2-foot diameter circle exposes more of itself to direct radiation per square foot of ground space than the same hose stretched out in a straight line. The coil creates a denser thermal mass, more water volume, heating in a smaller footprint. Modern tankless and electric resistance heaters accomplish the same end result, getting water hot, through brute energy expenditure. You pay for that energy every month. The sun doesn't invoice you. That's the entire argument, and it's hard to refute. There's also the question of water temperature stratification, which sounds complicated but isn't. Hot water is less dense than cold water. It rises. This means that in a coiled hose lying flat, the hottest water naturally wants to move toward the output end as new cold water enters from the supply end. You don't need a pump to create this flow. Gravity and temperature differentials do it for you. This is the core mechanic of every thermosiphon system ever built, and it's been exploited by engineers and farmers for over a century. Here's exactly how to set this up. And I mean exactly because the difference between lukewarm and genuinely hot water comes down to 3 variables most people get wrong. You want a standard black garden hose. Not green, not tan, not the fancy braided stainless steel kind, plain black polyethylene or rubber, 50 to 100 feet. Black is non-negotiable. A green hose in the same sunlight will hit maybe 85 degrees. A black hose hits 100 to 30. That color difference is doing real thermodynamic work. If you've got a colored hose, a can of flat black spray paint costs $2 and solves the problem. Coil it. Don't leave it stretched out. A tight coil, something in the range of 18 inches to 2 feet in diameter, gives you the dense thermal mass we talked about. Lay it flat on a surface that itself absorbs heat, a dark concrete pad, a piece of black roofing tin, even dark stained wood. The surface temperature underneath the coil contributes radiated heat from below. You're getting it from two directions. Elevation. This is the variable that separates a solar hose that works from one that just makes warm water you can't use. The output end of your hose, the end the hot water exits, needs to be higher than the input end. Even 6 inches of elevation differential is enough to create thermosiphon flow. What you're doing is letting physics move the water for you. Cold water is heavier, it wants to fall into the coil from the supply side, and hot water is lighter, it naturally rises out the output side. You've created a passive pump out of temperature and gravity. For a simple outdoor shower setup, run the output end to a shower head or a valve mounted above head height. The coil sits on a platform, a few cinder blocks, a wooden pallet, elevated off the ground. Input comes from a standard garden spigot or gravity-fed storage tank. Open the valve, get hot water, close it, the water in the hose keeps heating up for next time. For feeding into your home's existing hot water system, the approach is slightly different, but the principle is identical. Your cold water supply line runs past the coil before entering your water heater tank. You're preheating the water before it ever gets to the element or burner. If your incoming water is already at 110 degrees when it enters the tank, your heater barely cycles. Some days, especially summer days with high sun exposure, it doesn't cycle at all. That's money staying in your pocket on every single utility bill. The valve arrangement matters. You want a bypass configuration, a way to route incoming water through the solar coil on sunny days and bypass it on overcast days when the hose might actually cool the water rather than heat it. 2 ball valves and a short section of pipe handle this. It's not plumbing school. It's 2/4 turns. What about temperature limits? Valid question. On a very hot day, say ambient temperature above 100 degrees with full sun, a coiled black hose can push water past 150 degrees. That's above safe shower temperature. The fix is simple. Mix valve. The same valve that already controls your shower temperature handles this automatically. Set it to your preferred output temperature and let it blend the hot solar water with cold supply. The valve doesn't know or care where the hot water came from. Scaling this up is where it gets genuinely interesting. One 50-foot coil gives you roughly 2 to 3 gallons of hot water at a time before the temperature drops. Enough for a quick shower or a couple of sinks worth of hot water. 2 coils in series, water flowing through the first and into the second, and you've doubled your output. 4 coils, still under $25 in materials, and you're looking at a system capable of contributing meaningfully to a full household's daily hot water needs during the warm months. Once you've run the basic version for a week, you'll start doing the math on how far this can actually go. In a climate that gets 6 to 8 months of reliable solar input, which covers the majority of the continental United States, a system of 4 to 6 coils feeding into a standard hot water tank reduces water heating costs by 40 to 60% over that period. Independent testing on passive solar preheat systems published by University Agricultural Extensions over the past 2 decades consistently lands in that range. This isn't optimistic guesswork. These are documented outcomes. The materials cost for a 4-coil setup, 4 50-foot black hoses at roughly $6 each, some hose connectors, 2 ball valves, and whatever mounting solution you use. Call it $60 total, being generous. The average American household spends $400 to $600 annually on water heating. Your payback period is measured in weeks, not years. There's a meaningful difference between this and most DIY energy projects. Solar panels require roof penetrations, permits, inverters, grid tie agreements, and installation by a licensed contractor in most jurisdictions. This is a hose, on a platform, connected to your cold water line with a standard garden hose fitting. There's no permit for this. There's no inspector. There is no utility company that gets to weigh in on whether you're allowed to warm your water with sunlight before it enters your tank. The people who knew this already, homesteaders, off-grid communities, rural families who maintained the knowledge after the mainstream let it go, they've been doing it for decades. It's not a secret in those circles. It's just common sense that got deliberately uncommon everywhere else. There's something quietly satisfying about standing in a hot shower knowing the sun paid for it. Not metaphorically, literally. The energy that heated that water fell out of the sky for free, got absorbed by a hose that cost $6, and delivered itself to your bathroom without routing through a meter, a bill, or a corporation's quarterly earnings. That's not an anti-technology statement. Technology is fine. But there's a category of technology so simple that the only reason it isn't universal is that simple doesn't generate recurring revenue. The garden hose solar heater sits in that category, alongside wood gasification, alongside rainwater collection, alongside a dozen other solutions that got quietly sidelined not because they stopped working, but because they worked too completely. If you've actually built one of these, even a basic single coil outdoor shower version, drop a comment below with what you used and what temperatures you're seeing. Real-world data from different climates is more useful than any controlled study, and I rate every comment. And if this kind of practical, forgotten knowledge is what you're looking for, there's more of it, a lot more. Subscribe, and you'll be here when the next one drops. The techniques that don't require a credit card or a contractor are the ones worth keeping. Share this with someone who's still paying to heat water the expensive way.